In our world, the Roman Empire fell. It was an ending that gave birth to the nations we have today and kick-started the modern age. But what if it just didn't? What if the 21st century wasn't a world of separate countries, but of Roman provinces, all looking to the eternal city? Picture this. A sleek, silent maglev train glides into a station, but it's not made of steel and glass. It's all soaring marble arches and classical statues. The destination board isn't in English or French, but in the crisp, familiar letters of Latin. This isn't a fantasy. This is a world where the Mediterranean is still thought Mare Nostrum, our sea. A world where 2,000 years of unbroken Roman rule have created a present day that's so familiar, yet so incredibly alien. To build a world where Rome never fell, we have to understand why it did. In our timeline, the 4th and 5th centuries were just one crisis after another. The empire was stretched too thin, its economy was crippled by inflation, and it was constantly tearing itself apart with civil wars. The final straw was pressure from the outside. Huge groups of people, especially the Goths, were pushed by the Huns and crossed the Danube River frontier in 376 AD. This led to war, the disaster at the Battle of Adrianople, and kicked off a chain reaction that saw barbarian kingdoms carving up Roman lands, ending with the last Western emperor being kicked out in 476 AD. So our point of change has to be right there, in that chaotic late 4th century. Let's imagine a different emperor is in charge. Instead of a messy, panicked policy, this new, competent emperor, think of a powerhouse like Aurelian, reborn, decides to make a stand. He doesn't let hundreds of thousands of Gothic refugees pour across the Danube. Instead, he pours money into reinforcing the Rhine-Danube frontier. The legions get a makeover. They're paid on time, reorganized, and led by loyal generals, not ambitious warlords. A few short, sharp wars push the Goths back. Then, using a mix of diplomacy and sheer military threat, a buffer zone of client states is set up. The real game changer? The catastrophic crossing of the Rhine by the Vandals, Alans, and Suebi in 406 AD is completely prevented. Without that breach, Gaul doesn't descend into chaos, Spain stays secure, and most importantly, North Africa, the breadbasket of the Western Empire, is never lost. The Vandal fleet, which strangled Mediterranean trade in our history, never even gets built. At the same time, reforms are happening back home. The tax system is fixed, corruption is stamped out, and a clear line of succession is established, ending the constant, bloody civil wars that drained the empire of soldiers and money. Christianity, which is now the state religion, isn't a source of conflict. Instead, it's used as a powerful glue for imperial unity, backing the emperor's divine right to rule and building a common Roman identity. The total collapse of the 5th century is avoided. The Western Roman Empire doesn't fall. It stabilizes, it's hurt, and it's lost some ground, but it holds the line. There is no Dark Age. With the empire stable and the borders secure, the period from 500 to 1200 AD looks completely different. There's no fragmentation, no feudalism, just consolidation and continuity. The great cities like Londinium, Lutetia, and Augusta Treverorum don't shrink into dirty towns. They keep growing, their stone amphitheaters and basilicas constantly being maintained and expanded. For half a continent, Roman law is the only law, giving a solid foundation for business and society. The Mediterranean is, without a doubt, a Roman lake. The massive grain fleets still make their annual trips from Egypt and Africa, hauling over 400,000 tons of grain to feed Rome's enormous population. The complex trade network, shipping pottery, olive oil, and wine, never collapsed. You can find the same type of mass-produced Roman tableware in Britain that you can in Syria, a simple sign of a truly unified economy. Roman engineering marvels like the aqueducts continue to supply cities with fresh water, and huge water mills power flour production on an industrial scale. But all this stability comes with a massive price tag: innovation. In our timeline, the collapse of Rome created a power vacuum. It was chaotic, sure, but it was also competitive. Dozens of new kingdoms fought for an edge, driving new ideas in military tech, government, and economics. The Renaissance, the Reformation, and the Scientific Revolution were all born out of this messy, competitive Europe. In a world where Rome survives, those sparks are missing. The empire is so huge and so centralized that it smothers disruptive ideas. Why invent a printing press when you have legions of scribes to copy all the official documents you need? Why invent labor-saving machines when you have a massive population and a system of slave and serf labor providing endless cheap manpower? The state-run economy is all about stability, not growth. Progress isn't dead, but it's slow, careful, and conservative. They perfect things they're already good at, like self-healing concrete that sets underwater. But the frantic, world-changing explosion of innovation we saw in our late Middle Ages just doesn't happen. Europe is prosperous and stable, but it's trapped in a gilded cage of late antiquity. And outside the borders, in the 7th century, the new faith of Islam still erupts out of Arabia. But in our timeline, the Arabs faced a Byzantine and a Persian empire that were both exhausted from decades of war. In this timeline, they slam into a single, unified, and powerful Roman state. The conflict is bloody and goes on for centuries. Islam's explosive early expansion is blunted. Syria and Egypt remain contested, but ultimately, Roman denied the Mediterranean. The Caliphates turn their focus eastward into Persia and Central Asia. The world splits into two superpowers: the ancient, stable Christian Roman Empire and the vibrant, expanding Islamic caliphates to its east, separated by a long, heavily fortified border. As we move into the second millennium, even the eternally stable Roman world is feeling some pressure. The population is huge, resources are getting tight, and the long Cold War with the Eastern Caliphates is a costly stalemate. The empire needs new trade routes, new resources, and new land. In our history, the Age of Discovery was led by small kingdoms on the Atlantic like Portugal and Spain, who were desperate to get around the Ottoman monopoly on trade with the East. In this timeline, the push comes from the heart of the empire itself. Roman naval tech, perfected over centuries of controlling the sea, is more than ready for the job. So around the same time as Columbus, maybe even a little earlier, a state-sponsored Roman expedition sets sail west, looking for a new route to China, or maybe just chasing rumors of islands in the Atlantic. They make landfall in the Caribbean, but this isn't a few guys on 3 small ships. This is the calculated arrival of an imperial superpower. The first contact isn't followed by a trickle of adventurers, but by the organized might of the Roman legions. Their goal isn't just plunder, it's settlement, administration, and Romanization. For the native civilizations of the Americas, the result is still devastating. The diseases, the great dying, are just as catastrophic. But what follows isn't a chaotic conquest. It's the deliberate installation of the Roman system. Great stone roads are built. Aqueducts bring water to new cities built on the ruins of old ones. Latin becomes the language of the new government. The Aztec and Inca empires, as powerful as they were, are simply no match for a military machine that's been fighting and winning for 2,000 years. They're defeated, and their people are integrated. Just like countless others before them, they become Roman subjects, and eventually citizens. Their sons are recruited into the army, their nobles are taught Latin, and their lands are carved into new provinces. Dos subin nova, Hispania, dos subin terra aurifera, the land of gold. Dos subin provincia serpentium, the province of the serpents. Back in Europe, this discovery unleashes a tidal wave of change. A flood of gold and silver pours into the treasury. paying for new wars and massive building projects. But this new wealth also causes runaway inflation, creating new tensions in the empire. The Americas also become a massive pressure release valve for Rome's growing population. Millions of colonists, farmers, artisans, merchants cross the Atlantic, creating a vast and deeply Roman society in this new world. By the 19th century, the Roman Empire is a global power. It controls Europe, North Africa, the Near East, and almost all of the Americas. Its only real rival is the collection of powerful Islamic caliphates and sultanates in the East. The world is divided in two. The West is Roman and Christian. The East is Islamic. They are locked in a global great game of competition, espionage and diplomacy. And that brings us to today, the 21st century of the Fitzton Imperium Romanum. What does it look like? Politically, the empire had to evolve to survive. To manage its incredible size, it was forced to decentralize. It's not a single state run by one guy in Rome anymore. It's more like a complex, federated system. Maybe there's an emperor who acts as a symbol of unity, but the real power is in the Senate, a huge body of representatives from provinces all over the globe, from Britannia to Nova Hispania. These provinces have a lot of local autonomy, which is the only way to keep the whole thing from tearing itself apart. The world is mostly at peace, but it's a peace enforced by overwhelming power, a global even Pax Romana. There were no world wars, no Napoleon, no 30 Years' War. The bloody nationalism that defined our history never happened, because the very idea of France or Germany as independent nations never really took off. They're all just Roman. But there have been civil wars, and they've been massive and devastating, usually fought over who gets to be the next emperor. Technologically, this world is a strange mix of futuristic and ancient. In areas where Roman engineering was already brilliant, they're centuries ahead of us. They have continent-spanning infrastructure that makes ours look flimsy. Cities are clean, well-supplied, and built to last for millennia, out of self-healing concrete. But in other areas, they lag badly. That reliance on centralized control and a huge workforce meant the information revolution never happened. There is no internet, no personal computers, no social media. Communication is fast, but it's a tool of the state, not the individual. It's a more orderly, more monumental world, but also less dynamic and less individualistic. Society is deeply conservative and hierarchical. Your life is defined by your family, your patron-client relationships, and your loyalty to the state. Latin is the universal language of government and culture. Christianity is the universal religion, but it's a single, unified church controlled from Rome. There was no Protestant Reformation. The world map is simple. The West belongs to Rome. The East belongs to the Mentodarch al-Islaim. They trade, they talk, but there's always a simmering tension. To a citizen of this modern Rome, our world would seem like pure anarchy, a chaotic mess of squabbling tribes with no sense of universal order. To us, their world would seem like a magnificent yet oppressive monolith, a world that traded freedom for order and progress for permanence. And it leaves you with the question, what's the point of civilization? To constantly change, or to find a perfect lasting form and hold onto it forever? That's just one vision of a world where Rome never fell. What do you think? Would it have been a peaceful utopia or a stagnant dystopia? Let us know your theories in the comments. If you enjoyed this trip to an alternate past, make sure you like this video and share it around. Until next time, stay curious.